What's going on, guys? This is Bradley alongside Zach, and you are listening to the Charm City Sideline podcast. Tonight, we'll be reacting to the Ravens' 32-14 loss to the Cincinnati Bengals as the Ravens fall to 6-6, and the Bengals improve to 4-8. How you feeling, Zach?
Well, I'm sure not feeling good. My camera's just totally chopped right now, and I'm basically sitting in a car in a remote location celebrating Thanksgiving, and I can't even have a good Thanksgiving night as Joe Burrow and the Bengals just totally embarrass us. And it's so demeaning when you talk about how bad this Bengals defense is supposed to be on paper and the life that Burrow has given them and just totally stole from the Ravens tonight. It was just so the only word you can think of is embarrassing, and um I, I am truly at a standstill in where we go from here as a team and what the the finger pointed at, because it's not like Harbaugh was out there fumbling and throwing the ball away 5 times total. It's not like bad plays. If being blamed right now because it's all just absolutely horrific. But also, I don't know where I would go as a person. I'm thinking of Lamar, Isaiah Likely. It's just all crashing down right now.
Yeah, man. I guess I had the same thoughts because we've always talked about this season and even the past couple seasons. Like, if they don't get it done in the playoffs this time, like it's time to get rid of Harbaugh. And you're right. I mean, it's similar to the Bills divisional game. I mean, this one was way worse tonight, but similar to the Bills divisional game where it's like you mentioned it. Harbaugh's not the one fumbling the ball. Harbaugh's not the one throwing picks, but um, we'll just leave that to the side for now. And the actual game, Lamar was really bad. Like I think this is maybe the worst game Lamar's played since he was a rookie,
Yeah.
including playoff games. Like, it was really bad. And like, he had a couple really great throws, like the deep throw to Flowers that was called OPI, and the deep one to Tez at the end there. Both were great throws, but the fumble at the beginning where the Ravens got the fourth down stop, and then the other fumble where he tried to pull the ball back in. I mean, those are just like terrible plays. Like, you cannot make those plays. You can't turn the ball over there. So, I mean, you got to protect the football. The Ravens had 5 turnovers. The Bengals had 1, and their turnover, the game was over by the time they had their 1 turnover. So you could really say it was a 5-0 turnover differential. And you are never going to win a game doing that. The Ravens could play, I don't even know, like the Panthers, they could play the Titans. If you turn the ball over 5 times, you are not beating anyone. So it's tough. Did they have, 2 touchdowns taken away? The likely one, fumbling that, and then the OPI on Zay, yeah, still would have only had 28 points. Still would have lost, even if those 2 touchdowns counted. So, pretty terrible showing. Time of possession, Bengals won 38-46 to 21-14.
Oh my God.
Just crazy, man.
Yeah, and you can even where I think the coaching kind of comes into it as a piece of blame is when it comes to the turnovers and it comes to the penalties as just an undisciplined football team. Over the last, I guess, 5 games of winning and what that's worth, you saw horribly ugly games that the Ravens just came out on top of because of turnover differential and also playing disciplined football. It became back against the wall. You have to play perfect to get out of this hole. And the Ravens then decided to lean back, maybe get a third helping of Thanksgiving food and totally fall asleep today. You just couldn't put anything together. There was no there was no change in mentality as you continue the ball. Like the head of Lamar playing bad shows its head, and we have no idea as a team what to even do about that. It looks like the O line is defeated. It looks like um, the defense is playing without that little glimmer in their eye that they had the last 5 weeks. And the only person you can count on is Derrick Henry, who's played with as many bad quarterbacks as you can imagine. So he has no reaction to this. So besides that, you have to think of the Ravens as a helpless team on Thanksgiving night, and it's like just a nightmare. And with that, the defense does all they could tonight. Yeah, points. Setting up how many points scored off of those turnovers, and the offense not able to mask it even a little. That time of possession you just said is not only because you gave them the ball 5 times, so obviously you're going to lose the time of possession, but also because any offensive possession they had that wasn't like that was very quickly scoring and tapping into this like, okay, we're going to pass the ball and just outgun them, and you're down points. You can't outgun a team when you're lost on defense, lost on offense, and it feels like your team is just playing for a comeback. Like, think about when we talked about in the preview with both those games last year being double digit comebacks. The one game, it happened 3 different times for the Ravens. They were down 10 plus points 3 different times, and they won the game. The defense looks horrible, but the offense masks it. And now we're sitting here baffled at how a Lamar Jackson offense can play this bad, and the defense on paper giving up 32 points, but playing as good of a game as you could hope for. Like getting on the field that much more time is just it's not even winning football. It's like it's or not even losing football. It's all the way to like high school football. It's horrific. It's so bad. There's not enough words to describe how bad this team played tonight.
Yeah. We talked about in the preview how this Bengals defense is historically bad. They have the worst DVOA of all time. And in terms of EPA
Can
per
you
play, we
specify
mentioned
what DVOA is real quick?
DVOA is sort of similar to EPA per play. It's an advanced metric that is has a lot more that goes into it instead of just, how many yards are you getting on every play. What DVOA also does is it factors in the opponent that you're playing. So if you do really, really well against a terrible team versus if you do really, really well against a great team, your DVOA would be better when you do it very well against a great team. So that's a very simple version of explaining it. And the Bengals defense had the worst DVOA in NFL history. Um,
Oh my god.
32nd in EPA, by far, 32nd in yards given up by far as a defense, and the Ravens score 14 points. We talked about how it would be brutal if this Ravens offense isn't able to get it going against this defense because they are one of the worst defenses in NFL history. And they played worse than they have played the past 2 weeks against the Browns and the Jets. So, this is definitely the worst offensive showing of the year. It's one of the worst offensive showings I've ever watched, especially in the Lamar area. I mean, obviously there were plenty of times in the Flacco era where they scored 9 points, 12 points, but the 5 turnovers is terrible. Like the Ravens have won games in the Lamar era, 13-10. I swear they won a game against the Panthers like 12-9 at one point, but like they didn't turn the ball over 5 times in those games. And also, Zach, another thing I was thinking is like, I don't know if I'd say elephant in the room, but like these past 4 or 5 wins on this win streak, they've been barely scraping by. And I feel like we have even talked about it, how it's kind of obvious that they're not a great team. And they had been winning game after game. in situations that they lost in the past. And I feel like today it kind of all just culminated into one game. It's almost like they were working so hard to not turn the ball over, like they're fighting the Green Goblin mask the past 5 weeks to just keep playing winning football. And it all just fell apart today against the worst defense in the NFL. And that was after a great drive with a Derrick Henry long touchdown going up 7-3. Um, just crazy that they scored that early and then didn't score again until, in the second half with the Keaton Mitchell toss. Just a miserable, miserable showing on the offensive side of the football. You there, Zach?
Oh,
Are you there?
yeah, I'm here.
All
Okay. Yeah, tell me if I'm lagging again. Sorry, everyone. Um,
right. oh,
I,
we have
I
a
think I'm doing okay, right? I thought I was.
we have a super chat from Mad Rasta here. This
Sweet.
season just means the team needs a rebuild. Teams have figured Lamar out. He seems to have stunted. Those were horrible throws. Yeah, man, it's weird with Lamar because the early portion of the season before the hamstring injury, he looked really good. Like you couldn't even almost argue he was at least in terms. I mean, I know it's a small sample size, but the Bills game, the Browns game, and the Lions game, he was playing as well as he's ever played. He was probably playing better than he's ever played, and that includes his MVP season last year. Really fell off against the Chiefs and has not been the same since. I do feel like he played well against the Dolphins, which is interesting because that was his first game back with the hammy.
Yeah.
But ever since the win against the Dolphins, it's looked bad. And tonight was almost different, where so many like really inaccurate throws. The first one that comes to mind is when they're in their own end zone and he missed Zay on the deep out that would have picked up the first, and then he had a really bad overthrow to Zay over the middle late in the game. I don't know, man. What do you think, Zach? If
I
you're
think
not
that this was
lagging,
definitely the worst game I've ever seen Lamar Jackson play. Was that okay?
yeah,
Did I lag there?
you're good. You're good.
I did.
No, I
Okay,
said
okay,
you're
okay.
good.
Okay. So Matt Rasta has a great comment. It's about, all the way from teams figuring Lamar out. I don't think that's totally accurate. I think that he just had some really bad throws. I think players were open. You got away from running the ball, so maybe that's a Monken issue. But also, the idea that the team needs a rebuild is also something we talked about when we were at our lowest, like rock bottom once again in a 1-5 situation, talking about what the team needs to do to just win football games, and that became a disciplinary thing where the team just started playing more as a whole. And this game was the complete opposite. And it makes you think about a rebuild because there's so many pieces of it that didn't play as you would hope. Like a Ronnie Stanley tonight played pretty bad. Or Marlon Humphrey, really rough game. They targeted him a ton. So there's names on there that concern me. And I don't know about you, Brad, but it feels like the term rebuild is maybe not what I want to call it because it feels like we would then like maybe lose Lamar or something like that. But I think
Yeah,
that you could maybe look at the offseason as a chance to reconstruct this team in the right way for Lamar and an offense like this to succeed for the future. And it sucks because this year is such a great opportunity to make a run for anyone because it's just about getting in the dance. But as of this year, it just feels like we're part of this mix of we have struggled with finding our identity. We've struggled with one side of the ball almost all year, and it just doesn't feel like the year. But on the other hand, it feels like a lot of teams are like that. So I think you still try as much as you can this year. It's not like the Ravens are going to, give up and think about a draft pick or whatever, but especially since you're 6-6 and you still have games against Pittsburgh, which mean a lot. So I hope that the the mindset for this team is not just a disappointed fall on your sword kind of thing. It's about getting gut punched and getting back up again because it feels like what Mad Rasa just commented, which is rock bottom.
Yeah. Um, you were talking about sort of the rest of the season and how it plays out. You know, the Steelers play the Bills on Sunday. Probably not going to win that game. The Ravens, there's really two paths to get in here, and I'm talking about like doing the bare minimum. They have Steelers, Bengals, Patriots, Packers, Steelers. They really could go 3-2 in the last five, but they'd have to sweep the Steelers in that situation. If they lose to the Steelers one time, that really can be their only loss. Um, and they play the Patriots and the Packers. So this game was very important. I think they had like an 88% chance to make the playoffs going into this one, and I think it's if they were to lose this game, it's down to like 61 or 62. So still over a 50% chance because the Steelers still play the Bills and the Lions, but obviously the game next Sunday is massive, and then you still have two crazy games against the Patriots and the Packers, along with another one against the Bengals and Steelers. So definitely will be tough to get in. Yeah, we talked about the defense a little bit. You know, they were not bad. The Bengals were 0 for 4 in the red zone at one point. Had to settle for 4 field goals. Also, man, after the first Lamar fumble when the Bengals had the ball at the 2-yard line, like getting the goal line stopped there, first and goal at the 2 was insane. It sucks that the Ravens were able to capitalize off of that.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't have too many issues with the defense. I don't think we've gotten word on Nate Wiggins yet. Um, Left the game with a foot injury and was declared out pretty quickly, I think. Um, if that is a season ender, I think they're cooked. Like we saw the difference today of when he was playing versus when he wasn't playing, and it was massive. And the Bengals didn't even have T. Higgins. Um, I do want to shout out Chidobe Awuzie. He's playing out of his mind. Like gave up maybe one or two catches today and made a couple massive plays. They left Jamar Chase one-on-one more than I would have. They still had him bracketed a lot, but they had Awuzie on Chase one-on-one one time, and Burrow went deep down the left sideline to him, and Awuzie broke it up. Broke up another pass over the middle on Tinsley. Also, he was on the Bengals, so he probably knows Chase pretty well and maybe how to cover him, but he is really the only defensive player I was impressed with. Kyle Hamilton, probably always going to be impressed with him. But I'd say like Awuzie and Hamilton are the only guys, and Wiggins when he was still in, are the only guys that I feel played well or played very well on the defensive side of the ball. Humphrey definitely struggled. I think Roquan struggled a little bit. But yeah, man.
Yeah, we got a comment from Fry Reviews. Can we please talk about Monken? His red zone play calls have sucked now, and we can't even make it there. Um,
Hello. Might have lost Zach there for a second. Go ahead.
am
I
I
think you're
good?
back.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Um, crap, I forgot what I was saying. Um,
Monk in red zone.
Shoot. Yeah, I mean, there was opportunities where he was outside of the red zone trying to score, and the players were and everything, and there wasn't, again, a ton of opportunities to show that you were playing well offensively because of the turnovers just snuffing it out. So it's interesting why I would love to hear a reason why we would want to blame Munkin for this, because I don't feel like any situation was a big mistake. I didn't feel like there was a third down or a fourth down that I was like, Oh my gosh, that was just an awful play call. Like I would just not have done that. I felt like I agreed with most of it. So I, I honestly I want to hear what you think too, Brad.
They were a terrible OPI call and a goal line fumble away from having 28 points, and they had four other turnovers, not counting those plays. That is out of Monken's control. I would not blame this game on him. I think you could blame Monken way more for the Browns and the Jets' offensive outputs than this game, even though the result was worse in terms of the amount of points the Ravens scored. I also agree. I don't think this game has any blame, maybe a little bit to go on Monken. Um, really, coaching as a whole. I mean, I don't think this game is much on coaching, similar to the Bills divisional game. The one criticism I have for Monken today, and the Ravens did kind of get blown out when you look at the score, but they it was within reach until the end, when they went down three scores. But Derrick Henry 10 carries for 60 yards. I mean, that is very common in these Ravens losses. Lamar has two fumbles, likely has the fumble, Zay has a fumble. Um, then the Lamar pick. Three, four of the Ravens turnovers, I think, were on pass plays. And, if you give the ball to Derrick Henry against a terrible rushing defense, things are probably going to go a little bit better for you, and the ball's not going to be in harm's way. I know in September it was, but Derrick Henry's really been holding on to the ball high and tight ever since then, and he's a guy you can really trust, especially when you're playing the worst run defense in the NFL. And the times he did get the ball today, he looked good. Keaton Mitchell, 2 carries for 19 yards. It's not great to see those numbers. Combined Mitchell and Derrick Henry, 12 carries for 79 yards. Not getting the ball enough. Lamar threw the ball 32 times. But also, Ravens didn't have the ball enough overall. We mentioned the time of possession. Let me just go back and double check what it was real quick. Yeah, the Ravens only had 21 minutes of possession today. There are 60 minutes in a game, by the way, guys. Another super chat from Mad Rasta. Really appreciate you, Mad Rasta. Why in 8 years does this team have a real number one wide receiver? He might mean does not have real number one wide receiver. Do you think? Um,
It's been a conversation with
yeah, he meant
Zay
not. He meant not.
and being not okay. And tonight was honestly, I had that thought in about like the second quarter. I had this thought about, man, it just takes a number one wide receiver to really pop and get that player. Like just watching earlier today and watching Pickens and CD just
Yeah.
go bar for bar with each other, and each time Dak needed them, it was they're open now against a Chiefs team that we as Ravens fans respect, or at least respect as an opponent, and beating us so many times. So it felt like we couldn't rely on someone like Zay, and maybe sometimes like Bateman, who we got used to for that big play. And it it was just dished out to many people. I think that's how Lamar works and how the offense has worked for the last 8 years. And spreading it out, and now tonight it was weird. It was a weird feeling I had that I don't think I agree as in Zay's not capable of it, but I think that maybe he has to take the next step, or the Ravens have to consider, really their weapons as a whole in tight ends all the way to the wide receiver room.
Yeah, I mean, this is Zay's third year, right? So still has 2 years left. They're most likely, obviously, will accept the fifth year option. But I think maybe you could think about, do you want to pay him however much you'd have to pay him, especially if he does end up having 1,100, 1,200 yards this year. Um, I do agree with Matt Ross's comment. Like, I had that thought, Zach, too. Like, and I understand he's maybe the best receiver in the NFL, but like, just seeing Jamar Chase so easily beat guys one on one, like, Bengals could have a 3rd and 8, and they just isolate Chase on one side of the field, and he runs a 12-yard out, and he gets 5 feet of separation right off the break. And Bateman has done that in the past. He is really banged up right now, but even when Bateman is a great route runner at times, he's still not a number one receiver. I think Zay is a really, really good two. I think I think Zay would be like the fourth or fifth best wide receiver two in the league. You obviously got Devontae Smith, you got T. Higgins, Lamb and Pickens are insane. I think he would be up there as a two. I think I agree. I don't think he's a number one. Um, it's hard for a guy that size to be a number one too. You look at, Tyreek Hill and AB are two guys that come to mind. But other than them, I mean, it is tough when that guy is, your plan to be your number one wide receiver. I saw a comment about maybe some draft guys. I don't think they should go to the draft in terms of trying to find that number one receiver. I don't think they should go to the draft anymore. They've had plenty of chances to go get that guy via trade or via free agency, and they haven't done it. Maybe that's something we see this offseason that they finally go out and do. But, comment from Smirkio, A.J. Brown has been very disgruntled in Philadelphia. He could maybe be on the move this offseason. Zay as a 2 and A.J. Brown as a 1 would be nasty. But, overall, that was not the main issue tonight. The main issue was 5 turnovers. And it's, Zach and I could talk circles around it all day long, but like you are never winning a Super Bowl. You're never winning 2 playoff games in the same year, turning the ball over like this. And it's been a problem for the past 8 years in playoff games. I'm not going to say big games because the Ravens have had plenty of big games where they have 0 turnovers and play great. So I'm not going to, fall into that narrative, but tonight was a game where it really felt like a playoff game, super early on. Honestly, the Lamar's first fumble, I was like, this feels like such a playoff loss. And it ended up turning out like that. So I don't know, man. This season, I'm not going to say anything I regret because, who knows? Football's a crazy sport. The Ravens could play great against the Steelers 10 days from now, but it doesn't seem like that is a high probability of happening.
Something that gets me very grounded with it all is seeing how the media takes it, how funny enough sports books take it. The different NFL teams, maybe as soon as next week when I guess Tomlin, the next coach, is the Ravens and his thoughts about us. I think spiraling with NFL media, like you said, with the big game stuff is dangerous territory, and especially when you're 6-6 team and still very capable of making the playoffs, winning playoff games. You just have to correct stuff. And I think the worst part about this game was that we had seen this team really turn a corner in being disciplined, starting to find an identity in defense very specifically, but also getting by offensively. And this game was completely falling flat on your face and seeing no signs of that team in the past with what I'm going to respectfully say as an inferior opponent in the Bengals too, playing someone like that where you're just supposed to win and just get humiliated at home. You're going to have to play them in 2 weeks, probably gaining gaining 2 of their top 5 best players back in that game. And the chips are once again totally stacked against you as the Ravens. So it's a very harsh reality right now because you're just running out of time. You're competing with an incredibly loaded AFC just to get into the dance. So hopefully they can do it, but you got a lot of work to do. And really just talking about the schedule now with Steelers twice, you still got to play a Bengals who knock on wood, will probably be healthy, and you have to play the Packers and Patriots. It's still a very rough schedule that I hope the Ravens just start to take a little bit more serious, like they were in the previous 5 games.
Yeah, and it sucks that the Ravens have a solid chance of missing the playoffs now in a year where the Chiefs might not be in it and the Bills have a really bad defense. Um, and are going to be playing on the road in the playoffs. It sucks to know that and understand that. So we'll see if they can get anything going in the next couple of weeks. Another super chat from Mad Rasta. He says, "Unfortunately, Lamar will not win a Super Bowl." I would say I disagree with that. Um, he has come up short in a couple of big moments in some playoff games. But if it's overall like a if you're talking about like a clutch situation or like he falters in the big moments, like you can point to so many times where he came up massive in a time where they needed him. Like I always point back to, they're playing the Bills, they're down 8, it's snowing. He's never played in the snow before. He's from Florida. Bateman's out, Flowers is out, and they go down and score a touchdown very quickly. And Andrews drops a 2-point conversion. Like that's an example right there of like he has it. Um, a lot of quarterbacks struggle with turnovers. Matthew Stafford could not stop throwing interceptions basically his whole career. In the past couple seasons, he has really, really piped down on that. Turnovers are definitely something you can fix. And I mean, Lamar had 4 picks last year in the regular season. I will say, though, that fumbles are more of an issue. I think they've always been more of an issue with him. They've been more of an issue with this whole team. Likely fumbled today. Flowers fumbled today. Fumbles are just terrible. Um, they feel much more demoralizing than throwing a pick to me. I don't know why, but they just do. And I think it's really hard to win a game when you're fumbling the ball multiple times. We haven't really mentioned this at all, but I do want to give a lot of credit to the Bengals. Joe Burrow coming back from a turf toe injury before he was, you know, predicted to, and throwing the ball 46 times today, completing 24 of those, 2 touchdowns, 261, dotting up the Ravens secondary. Crucial situations. It felt like the Ravens played pretty well on first and second down today and gave up a lot of third downs. The Bengals were 8 for 19 on third down today. The Ravens were just 3 for 10. Bengals ran the ball today. Okay. 15 carries for 78 yards for Chase Brown. And, obviously forcing the turnovers, man. Just obviously a good effort from the Bengals, but the Ravens 100% did not deserve to win.
Yeah, and I think what's funny about like a conversation with, will Lamar win a Super Bowl is about as crazy as thinking the Chiefs last year in all those one possession games could go 13 or no, 15-2. What was it? Some ridiculous record and still go to the Super Bowl after that, where everyone doubts them and everyone thinks that they're incapable of actually going there and they actually make it. They get blown out, but it's still that football can be so crazy like this where someone that is as gifted as Lamar Jackson and how capable this team is, they're absolutely they have a chance to do it no matter what. Just getting into the playoffs is all it takes at this point. And this year it just feels like it's not going to be who you expect it to be. It doesn't feel like it's going to be the Chiefs walking down everyone and it doesn't feel like the Eagles are this incredibly tough trenched team that is going to win the whole thing. It's an incredible parity in the league, and maybe it's not this year. It's not like I'm sitting here trying to reason with you saying, yeah, actually, you bet on the Ravens. They're going to win it. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like they have a chance as good as anyone else right now. And again, I'll point to the Ravens just aren't playing their best football yet. And I think as we're getting later into the season, you might see more signs of it. But looking back, I think They were playing very good offensive football really early on and really bad defensive football. I haven't seen a perfect marriage of both yet, and maybe it comes this later time of year where the wins are going to get desperate measure type of level where you have to get some insane outcomes and losses of different teams at this point. It could really be anything, including, teams like the Chiefs who are outside of the playoffs. It's funny to say that too. So we'll have to see, but I'm I haven't lost faith in the idea that Lamar can or will win a Super Bowl. Also, given that we're sitting here just earlier talking about how possible it is for the team to just enter what I would consider a quote rebuild, which is just addressing an O line more and addressing a pass rush need and creating and really selling out for a team that's capable of doing that. Because I think every single year you've seen Lamar, like you mentioned, Brad, like there's always been something that you could have pointed to and said, this could have been better. It could have been better at O line. It could have been better at pass rush. It could have been better at corner. And the Ravens trying to address that. And it doesn't really work like that for any other NFL team where they're sitting there saying, "Yeah, actually everything's perfect for us. We're going to go to the Super Bowl." So I hope that we can turn it around, especially this season, because it feels like it's all possible. But right now, it's just a rock bottom moment, and we can all kind of just share this idea that hopefully the Ravens can turn it around and show some kind of signs of life.
Yeah, very well said. I think the sort of closing thoughts for me would be, let's see what happens with the Steelers on Sunday. Obviously, if they win, we're kind of cooked. But let's see what happens with the Steelers on Sunday. They play the Bills. And if the Ravens, you know, the Ravens are playing a game next Sunday, no matter what, whether we like it or not as fans in Baltimore. If the Steelers lose to the Bills and the Ravens go into Pittsburgh and beat them, not into Pittsburgh, if the Ravens beat the Steelers in Baltimore next weekend, I think Ravens fans would be pretty hype, and the Ravens would be back on top in the AFC North. Yes, then they play Cincinnati, New England, Green Bay, Pittsburgh again, but that could be something that gets them going. And they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday extra rest over the Steelers as well, and all the other teams to sort of figure out what went wrong tonight and how they can improve. Um, you know, 5 turnovers. You're not going to win any game doing that. So I think it's a terrible loss. I don't think the season's over. I know Zach doesn't either. I honestly think you guys probably don't either. Like, we got a game next weekend. If we win it, sort of back on. If we lose it, season's kind of over. Um, but you just can't play like this and win in the playoffs. I guess one more thing. We'll see what happens with Nate Wiggins. If he's out for the next 3 or 4 weeks at least, I think the Ravens are really cooked on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know what answers they would have there. So I think that's all I got, Zach. You got any final remarks?
No, I appreciate you all for being here, liking the video, subscribing if you haven't. Uh, me, no camera mode, airing out grievances with my guy Brad, and just thankful for it. Appreciate you guys for being here, and it sure wasn't a freaking good Thanksgiving night, especially a good Thanksgiving game. But hey, I'm still happy to thankful to be a Ravens fan, and thankful for an opportunity to basically air it all out here with you guys. So
Yeah. Yeah.
still,
I
I
agree.
guess, a happy Thanksgiving. I guess.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. This is a great time of year, football aside, for everyone who celebrates Christmas. Get your Christmas lights up tomorrow, get your Christmas tree. I think this is one of the best weekends of the year. You got college football tomorrow, NFL game tomorrow. Enjoy the weekend, everyone. Try to not think about the Ravens if you can. I mean, unless you want to. Uh, But yeah, Zach and I are both obviously out of town right now, and sort of, we're both dealing with a bit of struggle with our connection. Zach more so. We kind of figured out it's a lot smoother with
Hey,
his camera off. So that was sort of our answer for tonight. But as Zach said, we really appreciate you guys for being here, and basking in the disappointment with us. I'll get into a couple shout outs here just to send some love to you guys. Fry Reviews, Eli, High Frequencies, Ricky, Dawson Hess, DePlug, Brady Stauffer, Smirkio, Attitude Pop, Mad Rasta with a lot of donations tonight. We really appreciate you. Jason Allen. I think that might be it. But yeah, guys, we really appreciate you. Everyone have a great weekend. Oh, Bilal also just popped in here. We appreciate you as well. And yeah, guys, we'll probably see you next Tuesday to sort of rehash this one and talk about what is to come the rest of the season. See you guys next time. Peace.
peace.